Stop using blankets, the World War II heating trick that warmed homes in minutes. Cold didn't creep into homes during World War II. It attacked them. Fuel was scarce. Power grids were unreliable. Winters didn't care about ration cards. And yet, across Europe, families stayed warm without modern heaters, electric blankets, or central heating. They didn't pile on layers and hope for the best. They used a smarter system, one so effective it could heat a living space fast, evenly, and with almost no fuel. This wasn't comfort, it was survival engineering. Here's the part that grabs attention fast. During the harsh winters of the early 1940s, entire apartments were heated using a single short fire per day. Not all night, not constant feeding, one burn, lasting warmth. And the heat didn't disappear when the flames died. That's the secret most people miss. The forgotten heater hiding in plain sight. The trick wasn't about making more fire, it was about keeping heat where it mattered. Across Germany, Scandinavia, Eastern Europe and parts of the Soviet Union, homes relied on masonry stoves, heavy structures built from brick, stone or ceramic tile. These weren't decorative fireplaces, they were thermal machines. Unlike modern heaters that, just blast hot air and lose it just as fast, these stoves absorbed heat into their mass. When you burned wood inside them, the heat soaked right into the walls of the stove itself. Hours later, even after the fire was long gone, the stove continued releasing steady warmth into the room. No sparks, no smoke, just radiant heat. This mattered during wartime because, fuel was precious. A family could gather scrap wood, burn it once in the morning, and stay warm all day. No constant tending, no wasted energy. This wasn't slow heat. It was efficient heat. Why blankets were the wrong solution? Blankets trap body heat. They don't warm rooms. During World War II, staying under covers all day just wasn't practical or safe. People had work to do, food to prepare, repairs to make, children to watch. The goal wasn't to survive the cold curled up in a corner. The goal was to make the space livable. That's where radiant heat changed everything. A masonry stove didn't just warm the air. It warmed walls, floors, furniture and people directly. When heat radiates outward, it changes how a room feels. Even at lower air temperatures, the space feels warm because your body isn't losing heat to cold surfaces. This is why people could sit, cook and sleep comfortably in a single heated room without layering up like mountaineers. The real WWII heating trick. Now, here's where things get clever. Families didn't try to heat entire houses. They created heat zones. One room became the warm core of the home. Doors were closed. Thick curtains or repurposed fabric sealed off hallways. Drafts were blocked with simple materials like cloth, paper or wood strips. This wasn't about insulation as we think of it today. It was about containment. Heat was treated like water. You didn't let it leak out. The masonry stove sat in the centre or against a shared wall. Sometimes it was designed to heat 2 rooms at once. In apartment buildings, a single stove could serve multiple units through shared flues. That design wasn't accidental. It was wartime efficiency at its best. How it heated so fast, here's the surprising part. These stoves didn't feel slow. Because the fire burned hot and clean, the internal channels forced hot gases to travel through the stove's body before exiting the chimney. That meant rapid heat absorption. Within minutes, the exterior surface warmed enough to radiate heat into the room. People felt it almost immediately. It wasn't a blast of hot air, but rather a deep, steady warmth that just didn't fade when the fire ended. The room stabilized, you know. Temperatures evened out. There were no cold corners, no icy floors. This, honestly, was instant comfort by historical standards. Why did it work with almost any fuel? Well, during World War II, people burned whatever they could find. Wood scraps, broken furniture, peat, and even dried agricultural waste. Masonry stoves, they handled this much better than open fireplaces because they burned fuel more completely. Higher burn temperatures meant less smoke and more usable heat. That really mattered in cities under blackout rules, where visible smoke could be dangerous. It also reduced the need for constant fuel scavenging, which was risky during wartime shortages. Less fuel, more heat, longer warmth. That was the equation. The psychological edge of warmth, well, it's something people often overlook. Heat isn't just physical, it's mental. Warm rooms meant morale. Families gathered around the stove, meals were cooked nearby, children slept close to the heat source. During air raids and power outages, that warm core became a place of safety. This wasn't luxury, it was stability. In a world where everything felt uncertain, a warm room brought control back into daily life. And here's the interesting part. This system worked even in older buildings with poor insulation. The stove didn't fight the cold air. It overpowered it by warming solid surfaces. That's why people remember these homes as always warm, even when outside temperatures dropped far below freezing. What modern homes forgot? Well, after the war, central heating and cheap fuel changed everything. Homes were designed around constant energy input, thin walls, open floor plans, heat on demand. Efficiency took a back seat to convenience. But the wartime approach had advantages we've forgotten. It respected heat as a resource. It focused on retention, not production. It worked with physics, not against it. You didn't need electricity. You didn't need advanced materials. You needed mass, containment, and smart design. The practical takeaway today, well, this isn't about rebuilding a 1940s stove in your living room. It's about understanding the principle. Radiant heat lasts longer. Thermal mass stores energy. And you know, smaller heated spaces outperform large drafty ones. Before modern times, people didn't waste heat. They shaped their lives around it. They designed homes to cooperate with winter instead of resisting it. And, you know, that's the real World War II heating trick. Not a gadget, not a hack, a mindset. Why this knowledge still matters? History isn't just stories, it's solutions. When energy becomes scarce, when systems fail, when weather turns hostile, well, the old methods still work. They always have. The people of the 1940s didn't wait for technology to save them. They used what they had: brick, fire, physics, and honestly, it worked. That's why these techniques deserve attention, not nostalgia, respect. If you want more forgotten survival skills, real historical solutions, and practical knowledge from before modern convenience took over, this is your place. Subscribe to Before Modern Times. Like the video if this changed how you think about heat. Share it with someone who still thinks warmth starts with a switch. And stay curious. History has a lot more to teach us.